Hello everyone, it is me again, Penguin21, and today we are going to, well, be talking about this. If you don't know, Big Fry TV is headed to make Transience, this new game that's going to be out on the market. Now, to be clear, I can be very harsh on mainly PlayStation fanboys and stuff like that, but it would be remiss of me not to put at least some positivity out into the world, and also, talk about people that I actually like, and also criticize people that I actually like, because criticizing people that you hate can only get you so far if you don't talk about people that you like. Now, I originally had an entire script about this written up, but I mainly have bullet points to talk about. But this intro is basically that this isn't the first YouTuber game that I've kind of talked about or reviewed on this channel. I think I've talked about this before. If I haven't, I've probably mentioned it in several different videos. But the biggest one that I can think of that came off of this now YouTuber going into game dev type situation, or a game dev, not a situation, but this whole YouTuber transitioning into situation is not new. There's been a number of them. But the one that I can think of that's happened recently within the same space is Blue Drake creating Operation Heart's Doorstop, which is a free-to-play squad-style multiplayer shooter that has a lot of very easy modding tools to be able to create and make specific aspects. Now, to say that I was very harsh on this game, was on Operation Heart's Doorstop to be specific, would be remiss, because quite honestly, I am unsure if I made the full review or whatever, but Blue Drake decided to make this multiplayer community shooter with very little in terms of community itself. I.e., not that he wasn't starting out from square one, just that the community that he has is very small, but it's very dedicated, and I definitely think that he can build up later down the line. I mean, it took Roblox, 3 years to be at least somewhat decent and not completely garbage, so I will say give it time. It's more of just the building out of the community that I think that he it needs to focus on, which he seems to be able to do, and I have full faith in him. I'm just getting very harsh because there was very little content about it at launch, and again, I don't want to pull punches if it would just ruin my personal integrity if I were to pull punches on people that I like versus people that I don't like. So, long story short, I will try to come across as unbiased as possible, despite being a fan of Big Fry's content. Now, Big Fry is creating a single-player, first-person Tarkov-styled game. It's not exactly like Tarkov, but it kind of has certain aspects to it. It's more in the shooting mechanics that I would say, at least as of right now. But it's a tactical shooter, more or less, that is supposed to be launching later, I think next year, probably late next year, early 2025. Unsure of the date, but he hasn't even really announced it yet. But that seems to be the timeline, though, again, do not quote me on that, as I am not part of the dev team at all. I'm just a fan of Big Fry's content. Now, this game itself is, again, like I said, single-player, first-person shooter with the Tarkov-esque visuals and blah, 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 blah. Overall, I'm going to be as harsh as I can be on this game, because I feel that if I didn't go as hard and as nitpicky on what's out to be a demo because of Next Fest and a few things like that, I would feel that Big Fry would lambast me and say that I'm not giving him substantial criticism. So I will be as nitpicky and harsh as possible, with very little room for any fanboyisms, other than maybe to stating out some of the positives. Because I feel that that's what this game deserves, and that's what Big Fry would want. Again, if he happens to find this video, understand that I'm doing this for, again, entertainment purposes for the most part, but again, substantial criticism and understanding stuff. Whatever the fuck. With that caution out of the way, let's get into the positives and negatives of this demo, of the amount that I've played of it, which I think is about 2 hours, so it's more of a first impressions. Again, demo wasn't that long to begin with. So, what's included in this demo? Well, included in the demo is a kill house, a few different guns, and a shooting range. that's it. The kill house itself is randomly generated with a number of individuals, and they did say that there was supposed to be an endless mode, but they couldn't get it done or pushed out for this demo. Little bit of an understandable thing. Again, about 2 to 3 hours is the extent of the amount of content that you would really need to know. But let's get into some of the pros here. The pros are the gunplay is solid. It's definitely what is very highly defined and weighty. The leaning works and is okay. There is several different parts that can be a little bit awkward, but we can get into those in the negative. You can definitely feel the difference in the guns, and I appreciate that. Each of one of them definitely feels, acts, and reacts differently. The way that you can customize the guns is also pretty cool in the fact that it has the... it's kind of like the Battlefield version, but it's just far better in a lot of different respects. Rather than having like access to a few limited numbers, you can have access to all the attachments at once, which I appreciate and I think is really, really nice. There does appear to be only one pistol, 2 SMGs, 2 assault rifles, and 1 shotgun. All of that is fine, and the variety of weapons on display is fantastic. At least for a demo, obviously. Again, the sounds are very well defined, but in some contexts they feel a little muted. But that's just more of a nitpicky thing. Of what else I have down here is the enemy AIs seem to be smarter than the average bear, though not entirely the smartest. Definitely something that can be worked on. Again, I will go over that more specifically in the negatives. The more positives, again, I said the weapon customization is top-notch. You have a bunch of different sights and things, although, again, there is some nitpicky business in there. The weapons react and the environment feels nice, and I like the aesthetic and what they're going for. Definitely very good graphics overall. The point shooting as an option, like a toggleable option, is really cool to have. That's just fun to me because not many games do have like a point shooting option where you can do it like low and whatnot, and some of them have to have it in that way, which I like. The nods were unnecessary, though cool to see in action. Good. One of those little details that you like. The bullets and the reactionary targets and things were really fun to sit through and point and shoot at. It's really fun. The AI of like I said, the AI being voiced by 42. I think it's 42 or 47. The Tarkov guy with the funny voice who is a streamer. I'm glad that he, an actual professional voice actor, provided his voice. I do wish that he provides his voice for the full game. I definitely can see that, but I would think that he should be in a different role personally. As again, all the enemies sound the same. But again, having even one voice actor in a demo for a game that you're working on at this level, that's still a definite positive. Any more positives for here? Shooting house is fun. I do like the randomly designed aspect of it, though the walls are very bland and very odd. And there doesn't seem to be that much flow to specific parts of the map. I mean, I barely was able to get through half of the map before killing all the enemies and walking away. So, yeah. But, yeah. Let's get into now some of the cons, because there is actually a lot of cons here. Like I said, the gunplay feels solid and weighty, but the sounds feel muted in some respects. I mean, I was using mostly suppressors, but more variety of attachments would be nice. Not just having suppressors, even though that is fantastically fine. More compensators if you want to go for more loud, but also have less recoil. More different types of sights and things like that. And one of the biggest things is the sight over bore, because for specific sights on specific guns, there does seem, and he does seem to be taking this feedback as that, so this is more, again, why I'm getting this out of the way. The sights over bore is very weird because certain sights, when on certain guns and with certain attachments, the iron sights gets in the way and it takes up about the majority of the screen, which kind of sucks. Um, so they were processing like different ways on how to do that. I would say that the most efficient way, if they want to do it just quick and dirty, would be to just get rid of the iron sights whenever you have a sight onto your gun, at least for the M4 variety. For the MP5, they already said that they were going to be doing a riser, which I think is fine. Again, adjusting that is going to definitely be improving that game overall. But again, for any gun enthusiasts out there, Side of War for some of the gun stuff is just a little bit. Meh. Like I said, the AI could definitely use a bit of tweaks, but and that does seem to need to be a long way to go. The way that they move and react to specific things does seem to be slow, like they're kind of processing stuff. But overall is fine. The just generalness of how they attack versus how they don't is cool. But personally, I would have liked to see more of them, like more garbage strewn about the kill house, because then you would have more cover to really do that rather than playing throughout these doors and stuff, which again probably is something of a limitation there, limitation of whatever. But it just felt like going from corridor to corridor, and I was looking at the inside of specific door frames way too much for that context. I would have preferred more variety there. It's bland, but the randomness is nice. Like I said, toggling of the irons is a good idea. But again, the toggling of the point shooting versus aiming down sights was fun. Again, nice to see that has there. The movement again has been criticized a lot. This is definitely one that I would say that needs improvement. The walking feels very slow. It feels very sluggish. It doesn't feel. It feels like you're wearing a lot of gear, but you're not like a trained person that is able to walk fairly normally. And the running speed, it takes a little bit of like a ramp up, which I like personally. It's like kind of like the Tarkov thing where you get like a ramp up going now, and have like some inertia. So definitely think about keeping that. But if you are going to make more RPG style elements, give it so that way you can have more or less things, and like the gear can kind of affect how you do it. Especially if you're going to be doing like heavy, medium, and light armor plating, that can definitely affect how you run and stuff in the game. It's always fun to see that happening. The one big thing is at the splash screen of all of the controls. Make that into a tutorial. Like, that's 100% what you should do. Like, make a very in-depth tutorial, pretty much. Going over as much of it as possible, like the mainline stuff. Like point shooting is probably a good big thing to do. Leaning is going to be a good thing to do. Tutorial would probably be really good. And there's no visual indicator or really signs or anything on the screen that I could see from the HUD, at least, of whether or not you were on single or or like single fire or like full auto. I think that would definitely be helpful to model within the full game. Either model it in game so you can inspect the weapon and see like, okay, so I'm set to this and this, or just put it onto the HUD, or do both. Like I think that both would be the best option, so that way you have multiple different visual indicators. But just I didn't see it anywhere. So maybe I missed it, maybe I didn't. Unsure. But I think with that being said, we'll go into the final category, which is just some miscellaneous thoughts and things that I had while going through the demo. Because these are a bunch of random-ass thoughts, these are more suggestions as to what can be done with the full game, if I haven't done that already. And random things that I just thought of. For one big thing, I would think, is stabilization. Now, weapon stabilization in games can be brought into many different aspects here. A couple of different ideas would be to be able to stabilize on doorways for like holding it down so you don't have as much recoil when you can peek around a door. That would be fantastic. Same thing for putting it down on like a crouchable surface. Like, you put that down on the edge of a surface. You don't even need a bipod for that. I would hope that you wouldn't. But if you're going to be putting LMGs, you need to put like a mounting thing for bipods on there, and having bipods in general is fun. If I were to make one quick recommendation for ARs, have a grip bipod. I've seen that being modeled in games, but I would like to see that modeled in this one, and I think that you could be able to pull that off, where you could toggle an animation to pull out the small bipod and then put it back into the grip, which I think would be really fun. Opening crates, there is definitely animations that seem to be missing, but opening crates is probably going to be one if you need to open up and do specific animations. You don't need to do too much in that context, but I just think that it'd be fun to have. If the full game were to have the kill houses, keep the randomness aspect, but make it more of a realistic scenario. And I would also recommend for this to make it more than just being able to kill the things. I know that you were talking about an endless mode, but if I were to make some other quick suggestions, having objective-based modes where you have to go through the objective as fast as possible, I think that would be fun to have, like a capture the flag incident where you have to grab an intel stick or something like that and bring it to the exit, or one where you have to rescue a hostage within a certain amount of time. I think that would always be a very good, fun thing to have, and would prepare you for the actual game. And again, you can adjust it based on how you want the player to interact with that. I think that would just be fun and add a lot more content, variety, and stuff to that. Again, running through scenarios is great. Next up is more enemy variety. I think obviously that's going to be one of the bigger things that I should ask for, with certain recommendations that I have written down here being sniper type enemies, absolutely 100%. An enemy that can like deploy a drone to be like a camera that walks around with it, or like if you take him out, you take the camera out with him, and like the drone itself will follow him, and he can do this if you go loud or whatever, blah 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 blah. Sentry guns, obviously, and then I think that it would be cooler to have them be hackable. Again, that's just spitballing there. Heavy gunners, obviously, because you can't have that without heavy armored plated guys that you got to be out for. Stealth characters, I put invisible here for a more cloaking thing, but you can throw that out if you don't really like the idea of being able to, or you can't make that work. And then like an observer for like a camera if you're trying to sneak around, or like have an alarm system for that. Again, kind of like Payday 2 in that context, if you want to use that as a source. But again, totally unnecessary for the camera one. But definitely the heavy gunner I would recommend highly, as well as the sniper enemies. Both of those would really add some nice variety to the game. Next up, I would add a ping system, personally. Being able to ping and draw out on specific things. I know this is a single-player game, but having a ping system would be helpful, because then you can kind of plan out where you're going. And if I were to take this to the next logical step, I then offered up a map option, and that map option being mainly like an iPad that you can kind of draw on and kind of circle out and touch into specific place, which could then be like pulled up on your HUD as like, okay, so I need to go this way, this way, this way, and you can draw out and map out how things operate. And I think it would be really cool, and like it updates in real time whenever you make an observation for stuff. I think that would be really cool. Next up, we have the walking speed variability would help. I know that you suggested this in your video. Again, just coming out there. More voice actors. Again, obviously, that's another obvious one that I've said before. A weird pipe dream that I kind of wrote down here. But I think that it would be really cool to have like a heartbeat sensor like Modern Warfare 2, like the one that's kind of stuck to the side of the gun. Just personally, again, that's like weird. I don't know why I put that down, but I think that that'd be just really fun to have. So yeah, more weapon recommendations that I have written down here as well would be an HK, an RPD for a more belt-fed one. And again, I would also then say the SAW, if you can get that in there. The 5.7 P90 Vector riot shotgun and a 50 cal with a 1911, a revolver, bolt action snipers, and of course the SCAR, and more carbine class type weapons. Again, those are just the ones that I thought of off the top of my head. I would like to. I think that it would also be cool to see some like abilities, much like the stuff and like the special enemies that I wrote beforehand. Like you can have a drone that can scout ahead of you to be able to see things. You can have again, like I said, a cloaking system as well, and you can also deploy a sentry out on a specific thing, like having countermeasures in that context. I think would be fun. If I were to recommend grenade types, if you are going to go for grenades, I think that would be really fun and helpful. The standard of fragmentation grenades, flashes, smokes, and regular ones, as well as incendiary ones, and speaker ones, which I kind of operated like where you can, again, that kind of falls under distraction grenades, but it would be sort of different where you could throw it out, but it like sticks to walls or something, and you have to then, it's like, it acts like a C4 where it distracts the enemy as well. Oh yeah, and C4 too, if that's a thing. But like you throw out this distraction grenade, but it doesn't activate instantly, so you can go to like another part of the map and click a button and it will distract everyone within a radius, but you don't have to be anywhere near it, and it doesn't have like a timer or anything on it, which I think would be fun. But yeah, I think overall that this Transience game is 100% coming along nicely, given everything, that this is a nice vertical slice of the actual full-on game, giving you some standard gameplay, some of the varieties of guns that you can expect in the game, some of the gameplay loops and things like that. All of that seems to be coming along. There is definitely room for improvement. And again, like I said, if you happen to find this video, just understand that this is more concepts and things. And I tried to explain myself as thoroughly as possible. Even with the 2 or so hours that I was playing with this game, I definitely think that this is solid game design. 100%. Keep doing what you're doing. And I can tell that it's been a little bit stressful for you. And quite honestly, yes, there is a lot of content creation and stuff that seems to maybe be getting in the way of this and that. But overall, is the game good and where it stands right now? Yes, for the amount of time that you've been working on it, for the people that you have hired and have put forward the effort to make this game, I 100% agree that this is solid and is really fun. It just looks good. It looks solid, and I can't wait for this game personally. Just keep doing what you're doing, and if you take any of these suggestions to heart, I think that would be fantastic. But anyway, I think that I've talked your ear off enough for today. Final thoughts, like I said, everything in the conclusion. If I were to add one more quick little thing, is that to anyone hating on this game, don't. It's more of a joke response, but like, just don't. He's doing his best. But yeah, if you like what it is that I do and want to support everything that I do to make this content a little better, everything linked down in the description below, including Patreon, Gumroad, even my music and stuff, all of that creative nonsense that I work on down in the description. You can even ask me for making things as well. Also, Big Fry, I do make assets, so if you need any help, I might be able to. I'm not as good, but I could use a job, and I would like to work on video. Anyway, yeah, so my name is GamePenguin21. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and a peace. Oh.
Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta wash down the top 40s with a chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter, scraping my mind against a cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away, you better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter, no filter.